here the customer and the brewers are interacting directly. So it's really fun. I've noticed a couple things. Number one, this is a business that keeps adding. Nothing goes away. It keeps adding elements. So, for example, in the 80s, most craft brewers had only core styles, largely English ale styles. Pale ale, porter, stout. That was the way it was. Then, towards the end of the 80s, we started getting craft lagers and still classic styles. And by the 90s, the amount of styles that we were brewing, still all classic, was rather huge. I mean, we'd gone from just having a nice German Pilsner, a brewery would also have a nice German Bock. Okay, so we're still in the classic styles. Into the first decade of this century, all bets are off.
Okay. Oh, we're rolling. Hey, yeah. How's it going? Amber?
You know, this is a rare brewery. The owner is a friend of mine, Paul. I believe got his degree in philosophy.
True.
Right?
True.
He's a philosopher. I was heading to a conference for craft brewers, and I was sitting there reading one of my crap novels, murder mysteries, and I looked across the room, and there's Paul. I think he was reading like Wittgenstein or something. It was just like, and I think what's exciting about that is that we have a man who believes in the world of ideas. Ideas are real. So he goes to this really small town and builds a brewery around an amazing beer that is the least likely beer to succeed in the American market. It's dark, it's rich, it's satisfying. It's amazing. It's a milk stout, so you've got the creaminess that comes from the lactose, body from the lactose, but then you add into it the malt. So what Paul's done is build a brewery with a national, if not international, reputation that's all built around one of the darkest of dark beers. Very unusual. This is an example of this new phenomenon in craft beer, which is called niche breweries. Breweries that take this one-off, unusual thing and say, I'm building my business around that. And Paul was probably one of the earliest.
We are a small production brewery out of Farmville, North Carolina, specializing in dark beers. Dark beers is pretty much all we do. Our lightest offering is our amber ale. That's as light as we get. It's still delicious, even though it's light. The beer we're best known for is our milk stout. It's a traditional full-bodied stout. It's brewed with lactose, and that's kind of interesting because lactose is a non-fermentable sugar. Brewer's yeast lacks the enzyme to break it down, so it remains in the beer throughout the process unchanged, and it gives the finished product this very unique and subtle milky sweetness. It's kind of like putting just a touch of cream in your coffee. Here it is, actually. It's quite tasty. But, you know, it's not super sweet. I mean, it is called a sweet stout, but it's not super sweet. It's just subtle and nice, and it kind of rounds out some of those sharper bitter notes you get with the really dark roasted malts. We also today have our brown ale, which is an American style brown ale, which is different from an English style brown ale in that we've hopped it all to high heaven. So, you know, instead of having just that toffee malt centerpiece, you know, toffee malt backbone be the centerpiece of it, it's more of a counterpoint to that hop aroma and bitterness. And of course, I already mentioned our amber ale, which is our lightest offering today. It has got these very nice layered caramel malts. It's kind of a great beer to introduce someone to craft beer with because it's got depth and it's got character and it's got cool flavors going on, but it's not going to overpower your palate. It's not going to blow you away such that you're just confused and you don't know what to do. But we've been doing this since 2004. We recently had a big expansion in production in the brewery. We added 4 new tanks. We got 4 80-barrel fermentation tanks and an 80-barrel bright tank. It didn't quite double our capacity, but came close to it. So we're trying to sell more beer, both in the markets that we're already in, and we're trying to push into some markets that we haven't been in yet. So, you know, if you haven't been able to get Duck-Rabbit up until now, maybe in the near future you will. So long as you're geographically close-ish. We're not talking California or anything, just, you know, some holes in Virginia, Pennsylvania, maybe out in Tennessee, we'll see. Anyway, thanks so much, guys, for coming out today, and cheers.